Okay, so you want to be able to script raining tacos or raining whatever, right? Well, here's what you're going to do. First, let's actually get a part to rain. So here I am in Studio, and make sure you have your Explorer and Properties opened up. So maybe right now for you it looks like this. That's okay. Just go to View, click on Explorer and Properties, and you should see these two windows open up. All right, so the first thing we're going to understand is how do you make something rain? So we want to make some raining tacos or raining whatever, raining money, raining something, right? We're going to start with a part. So let's click Home and then click on Part, and then you should see your part right here. So here's my part, ta-da! Okay, so how do you even make this thing rain? So we already know that this is a part, and what we want is we want this part to literally fall from the sky. So I'm just gonna show you this, so you don't have to do anything yet. Just, it's gonna look like this, so I'm just moving it over here, and I'm gonna make this unanchored, and I'm gonna make sure that the can collide is set to true. And then if I click Home and then I click on Run, you can see that the part actually falls down. And this is the effect that we want, right? So we want parts or tacos or money or whatever you want. We want something to fall down from the sky. And how did we do it? Well, I had a part, I moved it up, and then see this anchored right here? I set that to false. So if something is unanchored, so if this checkbox is not checked, then that basically means allow physics to happen on it. And guess what gravity is? It's a form of physics, right? So if you set this to false, then you're telling Roblox, okay, let gravity work on it. And then this can collide here, this basically just means can this part collide with other things, and we've set it to true here, and that is what allows the part to fall from the sky and then collide with that base plate right here, and that is how it's done. So if I had to explain this to you in like 3 sentences, I would say this. Sentence 1, get your part to go all the way over there. Sentence 2, turn anchored to false. And sentence 3, turn can collide to true, and then your part will rain. So literally, if you can script this, if you can get a part to go over there, set anchored false, and can collide true, it will fall from the sky and it will rain. Okay, that's awesome. Now, how do we actually code that, right? So I'm actually gonna delete this part, and then now, make sure you follow this right here. So go to this plus thingy right here, and then write script, and then you'll create a script under server script service, and then just follow what I do. If you've never scripted before, that's okay. I'm going to explain everything to you. Just make sure you watch the whole video. Ready? All right. So the first thing that we did was we created a part. So how on earth do you tell Roblox, let me create a part? So when you're writing some code here in the script, you're basically just giving instructions to Roblox. So you're basically telling Roblox, hey, I want to create a part, right? You're basically telling Roblox this, but Roblox doesn't understand what hey, I want to create a part does, because you know this isn't the language that Roblox understands. The language that Roblox understands is called Lua U. So instead of saying hey, I want to create a part, we gotta tell Roblox that, but in the language that it understands. So we basically have to code this in Lua. And how we're gonna do this is just follow me. Ready? So I'm gonna write local part equals instance.new part workspace. So please feel free to just pause the video here and just type this out. Take your time. And what is this right here, right? So what is this? This is us telling Roblox, hey Roblox, I want to create a new instance of a part, and then I want to put that part inside of workspace. Now, that was kind of a mouthful, right? So where did all that come from? Well, new instance of a part. So why did I write this part here? Because this thing is a part. So as you can see in the Explorer, it's called a part, and you can see this class name right here is called a part. So you know that that's what you put here. And then why did I put workspace here? Well, if you look in the Explorer, you can see that this part is actually inside of this workspace right here. So let's say this part was like, I don't know, maybe I'll throw it here. Can you see the part now? No, I can't see it, right? But if you put this part inside of workspace, well, now you can see it. So that is why we put this workspace here, so that we can see everything. And if you want a more in-depth overview of this line of code, please feel free to check the video that I've linked in the description. So hopefully by now you can understand what that does. And this part right here, this local part, basically means, okay script, this instance.new part workspace represents the part that you created. So this line right here represents that thing. So to this script, we're basically saying, okay, let part be a nickname which will equal the new part that we just created. And long story short, what that does is if you run this, it creates the part, and you can't really see it right now because it's underneath this spawn location, but it's right there. So this whole line right here basically means create the part and then set that part's nickname to this part right here. So that part right there is the same thing as that part right there. Okay, awesome. Now, I'm going to get rid of the spawn location, and then let me show you it again. So I'm clicking run, and there's the part, and then this part right here, once again, is equal to that part right there. Now, what do we have to do next? Well, remember my 3 sentences? So we already have our part. The next thing is we want this part to go all the way over there, right? So we want this part to go to the sky, and then we want to set anchored to false. So basically we want this to be off, and we want this can collide to be on. That's all we have to do. Okay, so now, how on earth do you put this part in the sky? So remember that when we tested our game, our part actually spawned over here. We want this part to spawn all the way in the sky. So like, how on earth do we do that, right? Well, if you look closely at this part, and if you look closely at these properties, under C-frame, there's something called position. And there's 3 numbers here. We're not going to go too in depth on these numbers. Just know that this middle number represents the y-axis. And if you're not familiar with that, that's okay. That middle number right here, it just means how up and down this part is. So like what its position is up and down. You can think about this like the height above the ground. Okay, so let's see what happens if I set this to 5. Look at that. It basically went 5 studs. So stud is like the unit of measurement in Roblox. It went 5 studs above the ground. So boom, you see that? Like it literally like hopped a little bit. But what if I set this to like 15? Well, now it's going to be 15 studs above the ground. So instead of being like right here, it's going to go like over here. Boom, see? So that was 15 studs above the ground. Now, another question. What if I set this to 50? So 50, then boom, it went all the way over there. Okay, now you guys can probably see where this is headed, right? Okay, what if I set this to 500? Then, boom, it's all the way up there, and it's falling down. And guess what? Isn't that exactly what we wanted to do? We want the part to rain. That means we want the part to go all the way up there. So, let's make that happen. Part, remember part is the part we just created. It's the nickname for the part we just created. Dot position equals vector3 dot new 0 500 0. All right. Now what on earth is all this? Okay. So part is the part we just created, and then we're saying, okay, Roblox, set the position of this part to, and then we have this vector3.new, which if you want to understand this is like a mathematical concept, but I have written a blog post on it, which I will also link in the description for you completely for free. And we're basically saying, okay, Roblox, set the position of this part to these 3 numbers. And remember, I said I'm not going to go too in depth on this number or that number, but you know that the middle number is the height. This is the studs above the ground. And why did we set this to 500? Because remember, when we set the part's position to 500, it fell all the way from the sky. So that's how we have this 500 here. So let's actually just run this. And there you go, look at that. Our first part has rained. So I'll just run through this code with you just so you can understand it. Again, let part be the new part that we created and put it into workspace. So now part is referring to that thing right there. Set that part's position to these 3 numbers. Why these 3 numbers? Because the first number, which we said we'd ignore, the third number, which we said we'd ignore, and then this middle number, which is the height above the ground, 500. And then that made it fall from the sky. And remember, I also told you we need to set anchored to false and can't collide to true, but as soon as you run this line of code, Roblox does that for you, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Okay, that's great. So now it's like, okay, well, how do I make a lot of these parts fall from the sky, right? So right now we have one part that falls from the sky, which is that thing right there, whee, boom. And we want a lot of these parts. So how do we do that? Well, you're probably thinking, and then you're probably like, scratching your chin, and you're probably like, okay, what if I just take this whole thing, and then what if I just copy this, and then I go here and I paste it, and then I just do that again, and I do it again. And you're probably like, okay, why don't I try this thing, right? And then you click on run, and it's like, oh, you got it to work. You've got 4 parts now. But you have to get, like, if something is raining, then a lot of things are happening, right? So if it's ever raining and you look up at the clouds, you'll see there's a lot of like tiny raindrops. So we can't just have 4 parts if it's raining. We need like a lot of parts, right? And I don't think you want to sit here and just copy and paste these 2 lines of code until you're like 42, right? So what we want to do is we want to tell Roblox, I want you to run these 2 lines of code for me, and I want you to run them a certain number of times. So the way we do this is we use something called a for loop. For I equals 100 do. And then I'll just take this and do that. And basically what this means is, okay, Roblox, so this right here is us telling Roblox, I want you to do everything between this do and this end 100 times. That is what we're telling Roblox. This for I equals 1, 100, this whole thing just means do all of this 100 times. Just think about it like that. So everything you put here will happen 100 times. And if you run this, you can see it created so many parts. It's like a giant, like, that's pretty cool. It's like debris. Okay, now, rain doesn't happen all at once. Like if it's raining and you look up in the sky, do you just see like a giant tsunami just like falling down on you? Do you just see like a giant, like a wave of water just splashing down on you? No, right? You see you feel water droplets happening one at a time. So if you want things to happen one at a time, you can't have 100 parts just spawn instantly. So you have to tell Roblox, okay, can you wait a little bit before you spawn the next part? So instead of spawning 100 parts at once, we're going to tell Roblox, okay, spawn 1 part and then maybe wait like a little bit and then spawn another part and then wait a little bit and then spawn another part and then wait a little bit and then spawn another part, right? And the way we're going to do this is we're just going to tell Roblox task.wait and then 1. What is this, right? Well, this thing right here is us telling Roblox, I want you to wait for 1 second. That's all it is. This line of code means I want you to wait 1 second. So Roblox will create the part, put it in the sky, wait 1 second. And guess what's going to do after that? It's going to go back here. It's going to say, okay, this is the second part. I have to do this 100 times. Create the part, put it in the sky, wait 1 second. And it will literally repeat this. That's why this is called a for loop, because it starts here. And then once this task.wait 1 is done, once it waits 1 second, it goes back here. And it just loops. So you can see my cursor is making like a circle. It's like a looping. And that's basically what it is. So now if you click run, every 1 second it is spawning a part. So this is like our raindrop, right? So this is like if you want something to rain, you want it to happen like in a drop fashion. So you know how rain happens with drops? That's kind of what's happening here. It's just spawning 1 part every second. Awesome. Okay, well, rain happens a little faster than that, right? I mean, I don't just see rain happening every 1 second, like it happens quicker. So instead of waiting 1 second, why don't we say wait 0.1 seconds? So now I click run. Look at that. Woo, it's like a whole lot of parts. It's like rain, right? Look at that. It's raining parts. Oh, this would hurt. If you're like looking up and the parts just smacking you, this would really hurt. But you can see it made 100 parts. Alright, so I just noticed that there were a few sound quality issues with my microphone, so I just unplugged it and I replugged it. So if you were experiencing if you were experiencing those issues, I'm sorry about that. But let's continue with the video. Hopefully those are fixed now. And so now hopefully we know what this does. So remember, 100 times, create a part, put it in the sky, and wait 0.1 seconds, right? So boom, we have our 100 parts falling. Now we are missing one last piece of the puzzle, which is if it rains and you look up, does it have you ever seen it like this before, where water drops just spawn from one point? No, right? Water, usually when it's raining, it spawns from different points, right? So like maybe it'll spawn from over here, and maybe sometimes it'll spawn from over here, maybe sometimes it spawns over here. And that is where now I'm going to talk to you about those other 2 things. So remember, if you create a part and if you look at position, there are 3 numbers. Remember, I told you ignore this number and ignore this number. This number is the height. So if you set this to 50, now it's 50 studs above the ground, right? So that's 50 studs. Now let's talk about these 2 numbers. Well, if you notice carefully, there are 3 types of arrows. So there's blue, red, and green. The green one, look right here, look, right, ready? I'm gonna take this green arrow, I'm gonna drag it. Look at what happens. See that? As I move this thing up, the middle number is increasing. As I move this thing down, the middle number right there, see that? The middle number is decreasing. Okay, now what about these blue and red ones? If I take this blue one and I move it, look at what happens to that last number. See, it changes, right? And if I move it this way, that last number changes. And then the same thing with this red one. So hopefully you guys can see that this blue arrow corresponds to the third number. This red arrow corresponds to the first number. And this green arrow corresponds to the second number. So if I want random raindrops to spawn, so maybe it looks like this right now, right? All I have to do is change these two numbers. So maybe one raindrop is spawning from here and another raindrop is spawning from here. And if you look at the difference in the position between this one and that one, look at that. This one's first number is negative 23.34. But this one's first number is negative 65. And you know how rain spawns from random places? So like maybe it'll spawn here, maybe it'll spawn here, maybe it'll spawn here, maybe there, right? Maybe there, maybe there, maybe there. You can see that all of these guys right here, they have different numbers for, so if you look at, so ready, just look at the position, right? Look at these three numbers. I'm gonna click on another one, ready? Boom. That one changed. If I click on another one, boom. Both of them changed. So you can see now the challenge is, how can we give every single raindrop a different number for the first one and the third one of position? So hopefully that made sense. So basically, instead of setting it to 0 and 0, I want it to be a different number. Okay, so I'll just kind of show you what this does. So right now, if we have it at 0, 500, 0, this is 0, 500, 0. So if you put it right here, this 0 and that 0 means spawn over here. Okay, and if we change these two zeros, then it will spawn from a different place. So maybe I'll make this like 500, maybe I'll make this like 500. Now they don't spawn from here anymore, they spawn all the way over there, right? So now hopefully you guys can see what's going on. What would happen if instead of me saying like 0 or 500, like 300, or instead of me telling Roblox use this number, what if I told Roblox you pick the number? So what if I told Roblox I want it to be a random number, right? And why don't we try that? So I'm gonna say, instead of 500 or 0 or 2 or 23, we're gonna tell Roblox, I want you to pick the number. And we're gonna do that by saying math.random, and then maybe we'll say 1, 500. What is this, right? So this right here means Roblox, choose a random number from 1 and 500 and then use that for the first number of this. Remember there's three numbers, right? We're telling Roblox, pick a random number from 1 and 500 and use that number for the first number. And then the third number, we do the same thing. So now the position of the part is going to be, remember we needed three numbers. 500 is the height. The first number is this right here. And what is this? This is us telling Roblox, give me a random number between 1 and 500. What is this one? This is the third number. And we're telling Roblox, give me a random number between 1 and 500. Now, Roblox will give us a random number, 500, and another random number, and it will use those three numbers for the position. Hopefully that clicked. And if it did, make sure you like the video and make sure you subscribe. All right, let's actually try it out. Click run, and hopefully you guys can see what's going on here. Oh, there we go. Look at that. There's your rain. So now it's choosing random numbers for the sky, or for the X and Z, I should say. It's choosing random numbers for this one and that one, and it's making rain fall. So I click run again, and you can see, there we go. So if you look over here, there's your rain. So it's all just falling down. Okay. So right now, you guys can probably notice that it's all spawning in like this one segment of the map, right? So like, look at all these parts. It's all spawning here, but I want to increase the range. So to increase the range, instead of going 1 and 500, I can set it to negative 500. So now it chooses a random number between negative 500 and 500. So like maybe this chooses like negative 256, or maybe negative 100, or maybe 200. So it's just going to increase the radius. And honestly, we can set this to negative 1000 to make it even bigger. So now all over the map, you'll see our parts fall. So look at that. See, there's like some over there, some over there. And that is how you can create things that rain. Now, we want to create raining tacos or raining money or raining ducks or whatever you want it to rain for your game. Okay. Now, how do we do that? Well, let's look at our code. We've said 100 times, create a part, position it, and then wait 0.1 seconds. I want you to pause the video and think about, if I want to change the part to something else, which line of code should I change? So just pause the video. I'm going to give you 5 seconds, okay? Just take your time. You can pause the video. Take as long as you need. I'm going to count to 5. Just point to either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Which one? Do you think it's this line, this line, this line, this line, or this line? Which one do I change if I want to change the part? All right, so pause the video. I'm going to count to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, hopefully you guys thought of this one, because this is the line that created the part, and we want to change the line that creates the part. So just to give you an example, so I could actually change this part right here to a wedge part. Okay, this is just another type of part. Let me actually show it to you. So if I click this button right here, I could type wedge part. It creates this thing right here. So if I change that part to wedge part, it will start raining these guys instead of those other guys. So now if I run this game, or if I click on play, it will start raining wedge parts. Look at that. It's raining those wedge parts right there. So you can see, oh, look at that's bouncing around. So if I take a closer look at these, you can see that this is now a wedge part. Okay, now how do you make it work with, say, tacos? Well, there's no such thing as a taco instance. So if you look for taco, there's nothing here. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to click view toolbox, and now we can use this whole catalog to find tacos. So I'm going to look for taco, and here are the tacos. So I'm just going to click on one. Oh, it includes one script. Okay, so here's my taco, and I'm going to get rid of the script because we're the scripters. I'm going to get rid of this because I don't need it. And we have taco and we have handle, and we don't really need it to be a tool. A tool is basically like, you know how some Roblox games have like a backpack where you can like select things over here. We don't need that because we're going to make this thing rain. So I'm going to take the handle away, put it in workspace, get rid of the taco. I'm going to rename this to taco. Oop, taco. And now we have a part in workspace called taco. I'm going to take this part, I'm going to move it to replicated storage. And what we want is, instead of creating a part, we want to use this taco. So instead of creating a part, we want to tell Roblox, take this taco from replicated storage, put it over here, move it to the sky, make it fall. Right? Okay. Now, let's make that happen. So instead of part and this whole, so remember, instance.new means I want to create a new instance. We're not trying to do that. We're just trying to get the taco. We're going to say game.replicatedStorage.taco clone. Part.parent equals workspace. Okay, so what does this all mean? Now we're actually, let me just change this to taco to make it more clear. Okay, so 100 times, let taco be the taco that's inside of replicated storage. So this thing right here, see, instead of replicated storage, there's this taco. Clone it. Why are we cloning it? Because we're going to create 100 of these things, and we only have one here. So by doing this clone parenthesis thing right here, we're telling Roblox to duplicate it and then move it there. So that is how that works. So this clone right here is the same thing as us clicking this, right clicking this and clicking duplicate. And then we said taco.parent equals workspace. That's the same thing as us moving it to workspace. So that is how the code is working behind the scenes. And that is actually all you need to get this to work, because now we've already gotten everything we need. 100 times, clone the taco, workspace, and make it fall. And do that every 0.1 seconds. I'm going to click on F5 on my keyboard, and now you'll see raining tacos. Where are they? There they are. So here's, oh, I see. They're really small, so you can't actually see them that well, can you? But you can see there's actually tons of raining tacos. Now, I want these tacos to be bigger, so I'm going to go over here, taco. I'm going to go to the scale tab. I'm going to press shift on my keyboard, click this, and drag it. Actually, I'm not going to press shift. I see. I'm going to press shift and alt at the same time, I'm gonna click on one of these spheres and then drag it, and that will make the entire thing bigger. And that's gonna make my taco bigger. Alternatively, you could go over to the size and then like put some numbers here. Maybe you want to put like 888. So you can do whatever you want with this. But now I've made it bigger, and I'm gonna move it back into replicated storage because we're cloning the taco from replicated storage. Now I'm gonna click on play, and here we go. Now the tacos are much bigger, and it's raining tacos. All right, so that's pretty good. Now, the issue is that we have too many tacos, right? So we have 100 tacos just falling to the ground. And you know that we don't want that because our game could lag. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it up so that the tacos automatically disappear after 5 seconds. With this line of code right here, game get service debris, add the taco for 5 seconds. So create the taco, and then 0.1 seconds later, this line of code tells Roblox, remove the taco after 5 seconds. And that will get rid of the taco. And hopefully this will work. So now you can see, so look, if you keep your eyes on one taco, it automatically goes away after 5 seconds, and that prevents our game from lagging. So it's all just happening automatically, and we've got raining tacos. Now the last thing, what if you want this to happen indefinitely? So what I mean by that is right now, this will happen 100 times. How do I make this happen forever? Well, one way is you could increase this number. That would make it happen forever. But this is kind of messy. Like imagine you're just looking at code and you see like this giant like 10 billion number here, right? You don't want this. So just do while true do. This right here means do it forever. So while true is always true. So do it forever, and then create the tacos and make sure that they disappear after 5 seconds. And I'm actually going to set this to 0.6 so that it doesn't lag too much. So every 0.6 seconds, the taco will get created. So now I'm going to click play, and then every 0.6 seconds, it creates an infinite number of tacos that automatically rain and disappear. And honestly, I want more tacos. So I'm going to actually set this to something more like 0.5. I think that's better. Now we're talking. Woo, look at all of those tacos. And they're all just going to fall from the sky. And you can live in your own fantasy taco island here. They're all just going to fall from the sky, and they're all just going to disappear. And there you go. This is paradise, right? This is clearly paradise. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoy this video, and I hope that you guys will like and subscribe. And if you want to learn more scripting, there is a video that I recommend that you watch on my channel. It's called You Can Script. I will prove it to you. I'll leave a link in the description, and make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.